The Mind Over Chatter podcast. The Mind Over Chatter podcast with Oz and Hog. The Mind Over podcast. The Mind Over Chatter podcast with Oz and Hog.
Welcome to Mind Over Chatter, a podcast where we are going to be digging into the lives, the successes and the failures, and also discussing mental health with interesting achievers and celebrities that you may know. It's going to be loads of fun, and we're looking forward to inviting an amazing guest on the podcast today. The one and only, she's, I think, a national icon, probably the most famous musical name on the Maltese Islands ever. We're going to have Ira Losco with us. But in the meantime, I'm here with my man Andrew Hogg. Hoggy, how you doing, mate?
I'm good, thanks.
All good?
Nervous as ever.
Nervous as ever? You shouldn't be nervous, man.
Especially we've got Ira Losco on today.
What's that? I didn't hear you.
We've got Ira Losco on.
Today. So you're nervous because of Ira, really? I think I might have been nervous with Ira in the very beginning because I've interviewed her a bunch of times over the years. I think I would have been nervous the first couple of times because she's a big celebrity.
Yeah, I mean, there's an aura.
There's an aura about it. You're right. Yeah, you're right. But yeah, it's all going to be cool. She's cool, man. Ira's so cool.
And
you know her well enough now.
I know her since we were young, kind of thing. The thing is that every time we are in the same kind of space, I am aware of the real celebrity that she is.
Really? Do you get it?
I do.
Get it? Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you never got that way with me. Why not?
Yeah, we're talking about different levels here.
That's
but let's be honest, it's a true thing.
Yeah.
Once I warm up to someone, then it's fine.
Okay.
But initially, I am a bit kind of offish.
Okay.
Awkward. Socially awkward. And I think socially awkward is something that so many people have to deal with.
Well,
so basically, in this moment, I am consciously telling myself, listen, be cool, man, be cool.
You sound nervous, though. I got to say that. You do sound a bit nervous. Of course it's okay. And it's okay to be social awkward. We're discussing mental health on this show, after all.
That's
it's absolutely okay, and it's a normal situation. We wanted to reflect a bit on last week's podcast when we had Luke Demek in, and just do some little notes on what we thought about that. How'd you feel it went?
I felt, especially since it was our first episode, I felt that it went decently well, at least. Things that really hit me let's say the things that stuck out in my mind, the main thing was when Luke told us that he wasn't prepared for his afterlife, his life after football, right? But he still managed through, we're all resourceful human beings. And through his strengths, he still managed to get to a place where he seems happy today. He seems like he's in a good place.
He seemed balanced, that's for sure. I'm not
he
sure.
Seemed balanced.
I'm not sure happy is the way I describe Luke after meeting him. He seems like he's got a bit of intensity to him. He's got a bit of we had a knock on the door. Maybe our guest has just arrived, but she'll have to wait for now. He's got a bit of intensity to him. You can tell there's a bit of steel underneath, yeah?
Yeah.
But it's good. What I really enjoyed about it is that after a while, he really started to relax and he started to giggle and laugh with us. And I thought that was pretty cool. He's got an interesting story.
Yeah, that's
I really enjoyed that.
And I know Luke, and I've known him for a long time, and I know that especially when he's in a group one-on-one, he is a great guy.
Yeah,
a great guy.
Yeah, but when he's in the bigger group, because you've known him, you said when he gets a bit more.
I used to struggle with him in a bigger group.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. In the sense that, he's a big character. He's a big character, and I as a younger player used to struggle to deal with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a big guy too.
Yeah.
He's what's the word I'm looking for?
Megalo.
He's a megalo. He's a beast. So he's got that intimidation about him just by looks alone.
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed it.
I imagine him on like Magic Mike.
Magic Mike.
Yeah.
Well, do you think he's got? But is he that trimmed? I didn't ask him to take his shirt off, but is he that super Magic Mike trimmed?
Yeah, I think he's there.
All right. Do you think I could be in Magic Mike one day?
Sure.
Silence is deadly, man. Silence is deadly. Okay. It would have to be a different variation of the theme behind Magic Mike, right?
Yeah.
Magic Oz.
Magic Oz.
Yeah, it'll be like plus-size strippers,
Once again, I've known you for a long time. You're super magical.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
Okay.
I appreciate that. You've got your own magic about you too, Hoggy.
It's an aura.
It's an aura. You've got an aura too. It must be a football thing, right? But you're telling me I don't have an aura? I feel auraless now.
You have an orbit.
Moving on to the next thing. So we like to do a couple of things in the intro part of our show, in the first segment of our show. And one is to ask each other a question.
Yeah.
This is new. We didn't do it last
Yeah.
week, but
So-
this is new.
Who goes?
I'll ask you first.
Sure.
Or do you want to ask me first? I don't mind.
You go.
I'll go. All right. My question to you is, have you ever been in a proper fight? And if so, give us the details. I'm talking about a punch-up.
Yeah, I have.
Right.
Yeah,
Details.
I was at Havana where most fights start.
We've all been there, yeah.
And I remember my ex-girlfriend was with another guy. And I remember, obviously I had drunk a bit, but I remember consciously telling myself, I've never been in a fight. This is your time.
Okay.
So I went up, punched the guy.
Right, you started the fight.
I wasn't aware that he was in a group of friends. It was his birthday, and they were out on his birthday thing.
Okay.
And me and another friend of mine got proper smashed.
Really?
Yes,
They
yes,
beat
yes,
the
yes.
crap out of you?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Okay. That happens too.
It's
can
okay. It
happen.
was a learning experience.
Okay. How old were you?
22?
22?
21?
Okay. Was that the last fight you had? This is the second question now.
No, it's the only fight I had.
Only fight you've ever had?
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead.
And my question for you is, what are the 3 most important life values that you stand by?
Ooh, that's a good question. Okay. The first one would have to be honesty. I hate liars. I hate people who deceive other people, which is like 80% of humanity. So honesty is a big one for me. Life values. Geez. It's a very good question. It's hard to pick 3. Loyalty.
Love it.
I'm big on loyalty.
Yeah.
I'm a loyal person, and I don't like people who are not loyal. So that's another one. And the third one would be... Can I just mention 2? Because I'm really stuck on a third one. Honesty, loyalty, and...
Respect, kindness,
love.
love.
I'm big on love.
Cool.
Yeah, the world needs more love. So
I agree with that.
I thought you were going to ask me something like a really more deep about my history. That'll come later in further episodes.
Yeah, it's the first one.
Because
so-
you told me, we were like messaging each other today, and you told me like, do you mind if I go deep? And I was like, yeah, cool, let's do it. Do you have a challenge for next time?
But then I tapered off, and I thought that this was all right. We'll see.
Did you get conservative? You decided to get conservative?
This was just before I was going into lecture a bunch of guys on the importance of goal setting. Wow.
Okay. Well, you've done well then. You've done well. We have our happy moment and our angry moment of the past week. Tell us about your happy moment. What was your happy moment?
Okay, so my happy moment was last Thursday when for the place that I work, we're trying to create a bit of... we're trying to use their social networks to create a bit more awareness and to help younger guys, younger athletes, in their pursuit of athletic greatness, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
So the first one was about when a young guy dreams to play overseas. And we looked at, what to expect, how to deal with certain situations. And it was really interesting.
Okay, cool. So that made you happy. That was a happy moment for you.
For me, that was big.
Okay, and your angry moment?
And my angry moment, okay, this is something that happened to me this week, but it's not that it just happened to me this week. It's something that I became more aware of this week. So how many times are we stuck in traffic, right?
A lot.
We're stuck in traffic, and a lot of us are scrolling on our phones. Okay?
Illegally.
Illegally scrolling on our phones. Okay? And then somehow we make it home, and we're still kind of semi on our phones, right?
Yep.
No, that is mine, and I reflected on it this week. It made me angry, right? And I think we should spread a bit more awareness, to practice a bit more self-control, maybe leave the phone in the glove compartment, right? Would help so much in so many ways.
I agree. Cool, man. Cool.
Yeah.
Should
Yours?
I go?
Yeah.
My
Happy moment.
My happy moment is going to sound real soppy, but I'm a very complicated guy, and my wife has to deal with a lot. So my happy moment this week is just the unwavering support that I get from my wife at all times, no matter how difficult I am. And I am a difficult I have problems, so I am difficult to deal with. And she's always there for me, and she never busts my balls. She's super. So
Wow.
that's my happy moment.
Wow. I'm trying to imagine a world where your wife, where my partner doesn't bust my balls.
Really?
Jeez.
Okay. No, when the moment is right, she busts them.
Okay.
But she understands that there are moments where she has to support, and she's always there. And as I said, I'm a very difficult person to deal with, especially when I'm having a bad day. So she's super.
That's nice.
And my angry moment, I wasn't sure. I've got two. I've got one that I'm going to go with, but I wasn't sure if I mentioned it in last week's show because it happened actually a few days before we recorded the last one. Did I mention anything about screaming and dogs and cats?
No, you mentioned your motorbike.
No. Okay, so I'm going to tell you this story. Imagine this. It's a Sunday morning. It's 6:30 in the morning, and I wake up to screaming. Did I say the story?
To me in private.
I said it to you in private. I woke up to screaming and shouting and screeching, and this is 6:30 in the morning. Now, not to paint you a picture, but I sleep in the nude, right? So I got up. I completely rushed my boxers on to head to the door, and I get out there and I see my wife crying and screaming and my daughter crying and screaming. I didn't see what was happening, but apparently what happened was the dog and the cat started fighting, and the cat had its claws in the dog's face, and the dog was trying to shake the cat loose, but the cat was flying from one side to the other with its claws still in. Apparently they managed to separate them, and I'm one of these people that when I see my wife or my daughter upset, I just snap. So I snapped, and I...
When you say snap.
Snap, yeah.
Describe snap to me.
I have a huge burst of anger and emotion that needs to be released immediately. So I punched a door really hard, and I've still got the remaining scars of that, but I had to let it go, punched the door really hard, and that was my angry moment. I was like, I lost it. Not proud of it. I'm not proud when I do these things, but I lost it. Yeah. Anyway, that's our happy and angry moments for the week. I think it's time to get to our guest.
Yeah, we should.
So we're going to introduce the lovely Ira Losco.
Let's go.
The Mind Over Chatter podcast with Oz and Hog.
Ira, welcome. How are you? You look great.
Thank you.
Do you get compliments? You must get compliments like that.
You look
Thank
great
you.
too.
Thank you.
Thank you. You must get compliments like that all the time, though, right? You look great.
Well, yeah, sometimes yes. Last time I was walking in the road and this man stopped me. He was like...
This man, like some stranger.
This random guy who was like 60 and I was really looking like shit. And he's like, "Tikberet is me," and I'm like, but it's nice, sometimes to get a compliment.
But do you feel like, oh, how sweet, or you're fucking bullshit?
No, I think it's sweet,
you do, right?
I mean, some people just say something to say it, but some people actually really do mean it.
Because I think if some, like, for example, and this happened to me in the past, and maybe because I was cheesy, I don't know, but I would go up to a girl and say, "Oh, you look really beautiful today," and you could tell on their face, they're like, whatever,
I think it's, I am a person who compliments others, so I like to receive compliments. I don't like survive on them, but it's really nice, sometimes.
But then you have other people as well who just don't know how to receive compliments.
Yes, it's true.
I become seriously awkward.
Very.
Thanks.
No, I think it's really nice as well to receive them, like to say, thank you. It's nice. Sometimes it really makes your day,
Yeah, I think so too.
So thank you.
You're very, very welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I want to make you feel good. You look great too, Hoggy is, right, man? You look wonderful.
I'm looking into your eyes, and those are some special eyes.
Oh, thank you, man. Some say it's my best asset. Would you agree? My eyes?
Yeah.
Although they're always kind of closed a bit.
You do have really nice eyes.
Do you thank you. Well,
yeah, you do.
We're all full of compliments. This is such a lovely show.
You look like Channing Tatum. Do you know
you
that?
had told me that on air once, right?
It's true.
We left the last podcast with Luke talking about how everybody loves Luke and all this, and now we're into this straight away.
It's amazing, isn't it? So you're saying from the shoulders up, I look like Channing Tatum.
And we mentioned Magic Mike before as well.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
Okay.
That's seriously a dream of mine.
What, to do a strip
to watch Magic Mike.
What, to dance like that?
No.
The new one's coming out soon.
I watched half of one. It wasn't my thing. I mean,
Oh, I enjoyed it. I mean, the storyline.
Greased up guys and whatever, But did you enjoy it because of watching the bodies like hot guys and all that stuff? Or?
Well, they all looked pretty good, and there was like a guy for
sure.
everyone.
Yeah.
I'm not really into that usually. Seriously, I mean, like I think after the kids, I don't know, something changes kind of.
Okay.
But I really like Channing Tatum. I like his personality. I
He's
mean, the
a funny
bit that
guy,
I
yeah?
know,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, on screen, and I like how he's very real because when he's not doing any films, you know, he'll go back to his like original size, and then
Yeah.
he'll really work hard for the
Yeah,
role.
yeah,
And I
yeah.
relate to that a lot because I'm not one of these people who is very good with maintenance. So I am a bit like that, you know. I'll kind
Bit
of
up and
fall
down
into my
sort of thing, yeah.
bad habits and then get back in the game like when I need to kind of be ready for something, you know, for a show or for something that's really important.
No, I think you can. I think it's a good thing. I think it's hard for people to stay that disciplined all the time. Most people go through, I think, what do you call it, swings and waterfalls or whatever it's called.
Yeah, I think so. But I mean, I don't know. I guess when like hog, I don't think it's easy to kind of
Maintain.
No, it's not. It's easy. It's never easy to maintain, but it's not easy to kind of fall into your bad habits and then get back in the game, like because the periods where you can fall out of or no. I mean, I don't know.
I mean, for example, for us, I remember the off season was a period where we really. I mean, you're not meant to, but there were times where I really fell out, right? And I'd go back and I'd be feeling guilty about it, and I'd put a whole lot of stress onto myself. I remember one time I went back to Greece. I was like 14% body fat, and in footballer terms, that's pretty decent, pretty decently bad. You know, and the shame I felt, and seriously, I was in a bit of a mess for 6 weeks, but the mess drove me to drop to about 8, and then I started the season in a really good way.
Good way.
But yeah, the
So,
shame that was attached to it was big.
I mean, do you feel that it's good to? I mean, it's never good to do that. But do you need to kind of let go a bit to get back harder, kind of thing, or is it best to maintain? And I'm asking this as a non-athlete.
I don't have the real scientific answer for it. I don't even know if there is one. But obviously, ideally, if you can maintain
it.
I mean, ultimately, we're talking about a sustainable, healthy life, no?
Yes, that's important. I think a lot of people follow the bandwagon because they're not sustainable. They're not living lives that are sustainable.
I think a lot of people will go a little bit too hardcore, and that's not sustainable.
Yeah,
I think
I am a bit
when
like
you're doing
that,
health, but it depends on what mode you're in. If you need to lose weight, for example, then you have to be hardcore for a certain period of time, because there's obviously weight loss, weight maintenance, weight gain. So I think it's different in all these particular sort of circumstances.
So if I can jump in, so I mean, like mine, I am horrible with chocolate. I can't.
You love it?
I love chocolate. I can't control it.
Yeah, but you eat like a whole big like dairy milk 500-gram thing, or you'll
So-
have
so-
like
so you
2
know-
bars and you say, "Oh, I had chocolate."
No, you know, like the big yellow M&Ms.
Yeah,
Let's
what,
smash
the
it all.
big bags.
The whole
The big
packet.
bag.
Yeah, but
Smash it all.
that's not difficult, though, is it?
The big one.
Yeah, I mean, it's the big. How many M&Ms are under the big ones? 30, 40?
I'll go home tonight and I'll count, okay?
Do me a favor. And then looking so guilty afterwards and crying and all this stuff. All right, we need video evidence. Can you do it? You're not going to do it. You're not going to do it. Yeah.
For the good faith of the podcast, okay?
Okay. Ira was just mentioning sort of like, you know, your maintenance and all this. I think from a professional athlete point of view,
Yeah.
having done it for so long, you know, it's like what they say, to maintain a habit, you have to do a certain amount of times. You having trained so hard for so long, I think that's something you're always going to keep now, right?
No. Is the plan? I mean, because even when I was playing, my weight was a problem for me.
In what sense the problem?
Because we're not all the same. There are some players that remain amazing and eat horribly and train horribly, whatever. Then there are others who struggle more with the weight. I was one of those players.
Okay.
You know, I used to fluctuate a lot, and I mean,
When you say
how does that affect you? As in,
yeah, shame.
why?
Because I had the prototype kind of ideal that I should be kind of thing.
You didn't feel like you were that.
I felt like I struggled to get to certain ideas of perfection.
Okay,
right?
okay.
Do you still have that same picture in your mind today?
Yes. Today I find it easier to maintain because of the kind of sport that I'm doing. That's it helps me more, so I can maintain my bad eating habits and
But possibly the things that you've also learned regarding mental health, and this is maybe helping you as well a bit, not to be so rigid, or still no?
I would say no, because it's like the escarpin بالزبون مقطع.
No idea what that means, but okay.
Okay, the shoemaker
cobbler
has the cobbler has holes
has,
in.
Okay, there you go. Thank you.
So, yeah, I'm a bit flimsy with that.
Okay, I think I'm on the same page as you, man. But anyway, so Ira, let's talk about. I like to find out a bit more about people's lives pre-celebrity. Let's say that.
Okay.
How? I mean, we've obviously discussed a bit, you and I know you got, I think, 2 sisters, right? You got 2 sisters.
Yeah.
I think you talked about your dad as a footballer as well. Tell us a bit about the upbringing of Ira Losco, how it was at home. Sort of some stories about how things were, maybe some crazy stories from your youth. Tell us a bit about sort of your recollection of how your upbringing was.
I think I had a pretty good childhood. I really enjoyed my schooling. I was at the Convent of the Sacred Heart for primary and secondary school. No, it was really fun. I really enjoyed my school days because I loved the building and I loved the ethos of the school. I loved the fact that we got to perform a lot. And then I was obsessed. I had to get into St. Aloysius College because they had soiree there, and the only thing that was on my mind was like making it and wanting to be a musician and a singer and write my own songs. But like growing up was fun and good. My parents were really good. My dad gave us a lot of time, and my mom as well, even though she worked all hours of the day because my mother used to work for the airline.
Okay. Well.
Like both my sisters, because
of
my younger sister works. She's a pilot. Her husband as well is a pilot, and my younger sister is also cabin crew. So
That's Jackie, is your younger
Jackie,
sister, right?
yeah.
Okay. And what's your older sister's name?
Lisa.
Lisa.
Well, she's not older than I am. I'm the eldest.
You're the
son,
eldest,
yes.
okay.
Even though I'm the shortest, I'm the eldest.
Well, size doesn't matter
Because
in
everyone
that
thinks
case.
that Lisa's older than I am,
Right.
just because she's taller.
Because
But
she's taller. Okay. Jackie's the tallest of all of you, I think, isn't she?
no, Lisa is.
Really?
Lisa's
Okay.
at 5'7", I think, and Jackie's 5'4", I'm 5'2".
Short family. Ish.
I guess.
You've got the markings on the door.
No, we don't. But
No?
we just measure ourselves because I'm like the shortest, so we just had to see who was way taller.
Okay, there you go. And how was the relationship with your siblings growing up? Was it a good thing? Was there a lot of competition between you? How was it?
No, I mean, firstly, Lisa and I spent a lot of time alone together because Jackie came after 12 years.
Wow, okay.
So, she says that she looked up to me and, she always wanted to kind of, please me because I was the eldest, but I never saw that kind of thing. I was always like oblivious to that. However, then when Jackie came along, I was much older than her, obviously. So then eventually I would drive her to places. I'd take her to ballet. I'd pick her up. I'd take her to her parties, etc. But eventually Lisa and Jackie became closer because they work for the same company. So kind of, sometimes I do feel like I'm a bit left out. But that's just like...
Back then, did you feel the responsibility of being the eldest?
No, not really.
No?
I think I did a lot of stupid, immature things, irresponsible things, and...
Juice, give us a couple of stories.
I was very responsible. I mean...
Very irresponsible, you said?
Irresponsible. My career took off when I was about 20 years old. I mean, when I think back, I was super young.
Yeah.
And I really didn't take care of my voice. I didn't take care of my reputation. I'd be out getting drunk.
I'm really sorry. But did you have knowledge about the whole taking care of your voice?
I just didn't give a shit.
Yeah, rock and roll.
No, I know. I lived.
Yeah.
To be fair, I kind of lived a bit of a rock and roll lifestyle, when I was growing up, and I was learning as I went along.
You used to dress rock and roll as well?
There were phases,
Where did you used to hang out in Possible? Montrose,
Mela first.
Montrose was my home.
All right, so go to Montrose.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it rock and roll. I mean, Ali and Coconut were rock and roll, I think.
True.
I didn't used to be at Ali that often. I used to be at Coconut Grove more because they were the younger crowd.
Yeah.
But I did play in Ali around 3 times, which is like rare for a band of kind of my age because Ali was dying down then. I used to go to, what the hell was it called? The one opposite the George. Misfits?
Misfits, was it? I think so, yeah.
Misfits, I think.
Producer Mike is shaking his head. Yeah, Misfits it is.
Misfits. Enough, where else? 8 Pool when I was younger. And then we'd go to Havana.
Havana, yeah.
And then
Axis,
Purple Room,
did you get to
not
Axis?
that
Did you
often.
do Axis?
Yes,
all that?
Axis, and I did a lot of launches there at Axis. I
Yeah.
launched a lot of albums there. There, ta. And in the very, very past, Fredo. Mela, the one
What's
opposite
Fredo?
Roulette or opposite...
But that wasn't.
You remember?
That was a guy selling alcohol, no?
Yes. And then we'd have a burger, the lamb...
That was him, Tal Mahmoud.
The lamb burger at what's his name? The guy with the lamb burger. He was just down the road. He was opposite Godiva, Lady Godiva. He had amazing lamb burgers with like a pink sauce. Exactly, Al Pacino burgers.
Jimmy, wasn't the guy's name Jimmy with the hot
that's
dogs?
the guy.
He had the hot dogs as well.
I never had the hot dogs.
Hot
I'd
dogs
always
are
have a lamb
amazing.
burger if I wasn't like pulling.
Jimmy,
'Cause
what a
then it-
legend he was. Eh? That was right across from the Coconut Grove, right across
Exactly,
the road.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh man.
So
good times.
there,
eh?
I used to go out there. But I mean, I'd always like burn the candle at both ends because if I was recording an album, I'd be in the studio by 10 or 9. And then there'd be like a lot of time wasting, because Howard would be like chatting on the phone with someone or having meetings or whatever. And I'd be like, he'd be like, you have to finish this stanza, you have to finish the lyrics. And I'm like picking my nose and trying to finish. Very irresponsible, very like procrastinating.
How old were you saying at the time? 22?
20,
Oh,
21,
yeah, but
22, 20.
everyone's the
I'd be
same at
thinking,
that age,
I know
right?
I'm mature. Never happened. And then we'd be like, enough. He'd be like, okay, it's 1 a.m., for example. You want to get into the vocal booth? I'm like, no, but I'd have to.
Yeah.
Then like I'd start singing a song and he'd be like, no, it's not good, you have to, and then he'd make me cry. And then I'd go in again and I'd record it and we'd be finished by 3 a.m. And then he'd be like, okay, good vocal take.
Okay. 3 a.m.
So I went through a lot of this, and then like I'd sneak in my bag and I'd have like a shower, like nidellek, at the studio because the shower didn't work well. And then I'd put my makeup on and then I'd go and meet whoever I was going out with at the time.
At like 3 a.m. Wow. That's
If
pretty,
he was still around, like.
that's pretty tough though, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
3 a.m. to go out. Hardcore, like, I'd probably head home.
No, and then I'd go home at 5 or at 6 and then like my phone would start ringing at 10, like, where are you? Blah, blah,
No, but
blah.
you're young,
because,
right?
because you would have to go back to the studio.
Yeah.
Wow.
But then there were times that I couldn't go because I know I'd wreck my voice. Or I'd go, I'd wreck my voice, and I know that the next day I can't do vocals, but I had to do vocals.
Okay.
So, that kind of shit that you wouldn't do nowadays.
Did you have like some special concoction you would take to help with your voice, or was that all bullshit?
They don't work.
No.
If you're not giving your voice enough rest and you're not giving it the right vocal hygiene, you can try and drink anything, you can get injected with anything, because there were times when I was so sick that I needed a steroid injection.
Okay.
Wow.
The things we do, right? Well, the things
And
you
still my voice didn't come back. But I would note how when we used to be sick before.
Did
Now
you ever
it's not
get
the
into
same.
situations where you had to perform and you just like hardly could?
Yes.
And how do you get through something like that? And did the
Well,
crowd
one
notice,
time
for example?
one time I didn't. I had this performance in Ta'ali, and I think they have like acacia trees there, and I'm highly allergic to
Okay.
them. Besides the dust that there would be
Yeah.
kicked around by everyone. And I was already tired to begin with. I'd had a really long sound check, and then I started singing. I did like 3 songs max, and then I just couldn't. I couldn't. I felt like someone was sitting on my face. I
Okay.
couldn't do it.
Wow.
And I was obviously very upset about it because I felt like, people were there to watch me, and I couldn't do it.
Yeah, but you're human after all, right?
Yes, of course. And it wasn't like I was cancelling whenever, so
Yeah.
people understood that, but
I always wondered how performers do that, because there are times when everybody feels like complete shit, like not feeling well, fevers and all this stuff. I always wondered, was there like, you know, as you said, you took a steroid injection. I know that.
And it didn't work.
And it didn't work.
No,
yeah.
the thing is this. I cannot prevent hoarseness and I cannot heal hoarseness. But I can feel better. So if I have a fever, if I'm running a fever and my voice is unaffected, but usually fever does affect the voice.
Okay, yeah, it does.
If I have a really bad cold, I will sound a bit different. But if my nose is clear, then I'm good to go.
You're good to go, yeah.
If I have a really bad convulsive cough, I can also do that. I can also sing. Like when I sang at the New Year's Eve Valletta thing before COVID hit,
Okay.
I was really, really coughing. You were there as well?
I did the closing.
Oh, you did the closing. Okay.
You did the closing, did you?
I mean, as far as I know, you have quite a husky voice, no?
Ish,
You don't. It doesn't kind of. You don't get away with certain.
No, because if your voice is breaking, you won't get away with it. You will get away with like the texture of the voice. So yes, if I have a very bad cold and I'm sounding a bit like that, then yes, it adds to like the fun kind of flavor.
Yeah, yeah.
But if I'm talking like this, I can't.
Oh.
I can't sing,
I recollect times being on air.
Compratelo, compratelo.
I have no idea. Yeah, I don't speak Italian. My Maltese sucks.
There used to be a guy, I think, on Antenna
I think Antenna Sicilia. I think this is Beppe Grillo you're talking
TV
about.
show?
Who's now in politics.
And it was a guy who...
TV show? What are we talking about?
It was TV teleshopping.
Okay.
And there was this guy who always paused and compratelo, compratelo. And then it's ridiculous. You had to be there kind of thing.
Okay, well, thank you for bringing that up. I appreciate it.
But Ira knows it and it's funny.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the only Italian show, and I bring up this story often because this was my first sort of exposure to the Maltese Islands. 1992, I arrive. There's only like one local Maltese station and the rest are Italians. I didn't understand Maltese. And I'm sitting there on a Saturday night. I just watched a football game and I'm like, what am I going to watch on TV? And I'm switching through the channels and I find this brilliant production called Colpo Grosso. And I was like, and I was like, okay, all right, there is some decent TV over here in this
How
country.
old were you?
No, I was 20, 21, already an adult. But I was like, but in Australia, no one would ever get their tits out on television. I mean, that just didn't
course
happen.
not.
Yeah. Huh?
What was that?
It was an experience, and that guy Umberto
Umberto
Smaila.
Smaila. I sang for him actually once.
Did you?
Yes, he was here for like this poker tournament or something.
Right. Okay.
And I was singing, yes, and he still had that sleaze bag look on his face.
He used to wear
Sleazy.
the sailor's hat. It was shocking. I mean, with the moustache and everything, it was horrible, right? But
You used to watch Lupin?
no, I didn't know. We didn't get any of those cartoons when I was growing up. We had all the Disney stuff and
Obviously,
the
as normal people would, but
Yeah.
the Italians
No, but
would
exactly.
use manga or anime, like,
yeah.
and dub it and
I mean,
think that everything is
Margot was
fine.
Yeah, but
Margot was our
I hear
I'm ashamed.
holy moly.
my wife goes on about them all the time. Like, what is it, Benji Ashiro? What is it?
Oli Benji.
Oli Benji. There's,
Remember the pitch
The pitch used to last for about 2 days.
and the ball, like, changing shape.
you guys, I mean, you guys didn't have a lot growing up in terms of television, did you? I'm just asking because I really don't know.
Italian TV mostly. That's why we know how to speak Italian. Well, most of us.
The newer generation are not, though, eh? Because they've gone away from watching the Italian channels, which is a bit of a shame, I think.
It is, because you'd learn a third language like by just watching, basically, things you like.
Yeah, I'm embarrassed that I only speak one language well. I mean, it's shocking, really.
Never too late to learn.
No, I don't learn now. I can't study.
You never
No.
downloaded the Duolingo?
I did, and I started doing it, and it's kind of fun, but then you get bored of it after a while.
Really?
Yeah, and I can't study. I don't know.
What
it is.
language did you go for?
Italian. I started doing Italian. Yeah.
Sì, perfetto.
La mela.
La mela.
I did all the basic stuff, but
What
I
is
just
la
it's an apple.
Bravo.
Thank you.
Molto bene.
Now maybe I can go back and watch reruns of Colpo Grosso and understand what they're saying.
You don't really need to understand, right? You just need
Not
to watch.
really. It's more about the visual. Yeah,
Exactly.
But still amazing. Coming to 20 years old, coming to Europe. I was like, Europe's my place. That's it. Television like this, I'm never leaving, and I'm still here. Go figure, right?
Thanks to Colpo Grosso.
Thanks to Umberto. Yeah. So, you got to talk to us, Hoggy. Tell us
Who were
something.
your like inspirations growing up?
Good question.
I always really liked someone like Madonna because she was like a comedian, right? And I loved like her vision of audiovisual and the videos that she used to come up with. So she was like, you know, my main inspiration, like as a pop icon. And I remember telling my mother, I really like Madonna. And she's like, she liked her, but she wouldn't tell me that she liked her because she's vulgar.
Because
you
of
know?
her church.
Controversial and stuff like that.
No,
My mother
mom was
isn't
very
that
much-
tradition, that egg, you know, like. But no, but like she obviously wouldn't say, yes, it was really cool when she wore like that cone bra, you know, like she wouldn't say that.
Yeah.
But then I started listening to alternative music more, so like, you know, Radiohead, PJ Harvey, Tori Amos, like all this. The darker it was, the more I loved it, you know. And in fact, when I start songwriting, first I write all the dark stuff, like all the wrist-slitting stuff, and I get that out of my system. And then I start writing more like pop stuff that will do well on radio.
Okay.
But first I have to write that stuff.
Did you ever release any of that stuff?
No.
Will you ever?
Some of it wasn't that good. I might, like, eventually. Not that stuff, like what I write.
And when you like sit down to write, right? Is it kind of you're programming, you're putting it in your diary? Okay, today at 5 p.m. Sorry, I'm gonna go and write.
I'm meant to do that. Apparently you're meant to write every single day. You're meant to write something. Apparently, like Charles Camilleri, one of Malta's best composers, had told a friend of mine that you need to write something every day, even if it's crap. You just need to write something every day. But it takes a lot of discipline. Because it will help you. It will trigger your mind. It will help exercise. It's like exercise, no? Physical exercise. The longer you stay away from it, the harder it becomes to jump back in.
Well, that's true. Exactly. It's like when you're studying, when you have to write a long assignment, a thesis. When you take a break of 1, 2, 3, 4 days, and you have
to get back.
It's hard to get back
in. I know.
So hard.
I know, but sometimes some things are easier for me. Like, for example, if someone tells me to write something for them, like as in write a piece of writing or to write a speech or stuff like that, that I can do. I've always loved writing. I've always been good at writing, like, well, since the age of 11, 12, because before that, all my essays were like, and then it started becoming more like, you know, I would read and I would use...
flamboyant words.
And they had literally devices and all this shit. Yeah. However, when you're writing...
Furthermore.
When you're writing music and melody and the words to go with that melody. And for me, I write both together. I do not write melodies and then put words to them because that drives me insane. Because everything needs to have the right sound. Yeah. So you write a melody, but the words have to be right. You know, if you're writing crappy words, you know, the song will spit them out.
Yeah, you need to have the words first and then come up with the music, right?
No, I write both together. So if I'm going to write...
So you have a vision and it all comes out at once sort of thing? Or?
If it's a really good song, yes. If it's a song that takes longer to write and is a real bitch to write, no.
Okay.
But if it's like some of my best songs to date that I feel I just wrote like, you know, like 5 minutes flat.
And usually they're things that are maybe happening in your world right now.
That, or for example, I'll be thinking about something that I want to write about and I'll store it in my brain and then it will just come out like verbal diarrhea.
While you're driving?
Possibly. Or while I'm doing something. I've never written on the toilet.
Good acoustics in the toilet.
True.
I'm not sure if that helps, but
in the car a lot I write.
I want to ask, what do you feel more comfortable doing, right? Performing on stage or judging as you do on X Factor?
Performing on stage for me is like my passion. So even more than writing songs, for me performance is like my ultimate favorite. And I think it's because it's a bit more daunting as well. Mind you, the studio is daunting as well. So when I write, there's always that fear of like that cringe, you know? Like you write something and it's like, yeah, it's so bad.
I think you get used to cringe, no?
Yes and no.
I spend my life cringing at myself. I don't know. I think you just have to roll with it, no?
I don't think it's a healthy thing to ask me, honestly.
Cringing at yourself.
Yeah.
It's something
I'm a very similar nature, but I don't. Do you? Because this is something that brain spasm just happened. I listen. People always tell me, "Oh, you got such a great voice." I never saw it, even till now. When I listen to my voice, I'm like, "Fucking hell."
You don't like it?
No, don't like it at all. Do you? When you write music, do you get the same thing? Do you ever get to that moment when you say, "Oh, that's fucking, I love that, it's brilliant," or are you always?
I do listen to songs and I say, "Oh my God, like this song is like." I really love this song, but I love it not as in I love it because I'm so good. I love it because it's like something I created. It's like a baby, you know.
And everything clicks.
And I know how I felt while I wrote it, and I know how I felt when it came out, and I knew that I had something really good in my hands, you know.
Okay, but
like,
I need to know
I couldn't wait.
If you send a voice message to someone and you listen to it over, are you like all of us and say, "Is this really me?"
No, but I'm used to my voice now.
Okay.
And I also like, enough when I'm asked, before when they used to ask me to do like voiceovers, I'd be like, "Oh my God, Madonna, I hate it." I would hate my voice, but my voice was younger, it was thinner, it was like more high-pitched, it was annoying, like. But now, if someone asks me to do a voiceover, I'll do it. I'll put on like my voiceover voice.
Yeah.
And then whatever, like.
What do you mean voiceover voice? I have no idea what you're talking about, Ira. Voiceover
and then some
voice?
people are like, you know, like the people on Facebook and whatever, like when I do these adverts, they're like, "Hey, Madonna, come on, Danik." But I mean, you have to make it sound good, right?
Well, yeah, it's at the end of the day.
You're not exactly going to speak in your usual accent.
No, it always depends what the project is, what the client wants, and so on and so forth. Depends a lot. People who are on the other side just have no clue about what's going on.
Exactly.
That's for sure. I wanted to ask you. I mean, obviously, you really made it big when you did the first Eurovision, right? That was when you really made it big. What did you think of the song that you were performing?
When I first heard it, so I had placed second the year before with a song called Spellbound, and I had really liked it because it had like these Bonnie Tyler kind of moments, and obviously since my voice is a bit husky, like you said, I kind of related to that. And then when the composer Philip Vella called me for this song, and I read the title Seventh Wonder, and I'm like, I don't know. What is Seventh Wonder? And then I read the lyrics, and then I heard the song, and I was like, this is not exactly what's happening now on radio. And I didn't really like it. And they both know, Philip Vella and Gerard James Borge know that I wasn't like super fond of the song in the beginning. Anyway, in summer, then I sang it. I felt I had a good chance because we were getting a lot of good feedback, and on stage it was like amazing, and I used the stage very well. Anyway, and fast forward to second place, and then after that, whenever I was asked to sing it, I must admit I felt like that tinge of embarrassment. I couldn't handle it, especially because I was moving on then from that and going back to my roots kind of, and writing more rock, and I had cut my hair shorter, and I was doing the stuff I wanted to really do. Yeah. And I felt that I was shining more, doing that.
So you said you cut your hair shorter. You felt that you needed to do that to move away from the identity?
I didn't feel I need to cut my hair short. I was told to.
Oh. There you go. That explains it.
But obviously my hair was different too. I didn't have any waves or curls. It was always like, very like this kind of pop rock image. Anyway, but then fast forward to now, like I receive people's videos singing the song, doing karaoke, like on the buses when people graduate, and people who are much younger than I am. Yeah. And they still like the song. And it makes me proud because it makes me feel like, 20 years ago I did something that's kind of really hit Malta in a positive way, for that moment. It was a really nice moment.
I think you have to put it into context, right? It was a Eurovision song, right?
Exactly.
Now, I got to be honest with you. I can't stand the competition. I can't fucking stand it, Ira. Some of the cheesy rubbish that they allow on there, and then the way it's judged, that this country votes for this fucking country.
Yeah, those are the negative
this
aspects
one's got
of it.
20
It's
million
true.
neighbors, and this one has 15 neighbors, and
true.
how is that fair? So it really...
Yeah.
But the quality of music's not very high, let's be honest.
And yet we still watch it every year.
I don't know.
I'm going to step in a bit here.
Ooh,
that
I like it.
lately, I think ever since Loreen participated and did very well with her entry, it kind of shifted things a bit, you know.
Okay.
So record labels started sending their upcoming artists or artists that needed to break Europe, and they have sent some really strong songs. Obviously, there are the ones that are dated and out-fashioned, and
there's also the ones where there's like these grandmothers.
yes,
with
those are the
goats.
gimmicky ones. Then
Yeah,
you know, then there are the gimmicky ones, and those they can't be taken seriously.
Yeah, but they do well usually.
Yeah, sometimes they do. Yeah.
I reckon I'd say there's always a couple of good songs every year. And that's sort of mixed in with the rest of the bullshit. The unfortunate thing is not always, the good song doesn't always win.
No, sometimes no, and sometimes you end up in a contest. I mean, when I went the last time, it was in Sweden, so everyone went in like a raging horse, you know, because they knew that they were going to be in Sweden, which is like the mecca of Eurovision. So, and all the labels, all the really strong labels, and all the songwriting houses like are there. So, you know, it's not like when it's held in, I don't know.
Helsinki.
For example, or enough, or like if San Marino ever had to win, you know, and it's held there, it's like...
But it's not going to happen, right? They'll not allow it to happen, let's be honest.
I don't know. I don't know if it ever will, because strategically, geographically, I don't think it will ever happen.
I wanted to go back to Seventh Wonder quickly, because I didn't particularly like the song, but I thought your performance was amazing.
Thank you.
Which is what I think got you all the way to second place. It was fantastic. I thought it was really, really good.
Thank you.
I want to talk a bit about X Factor, because first of all, how's your experience with X Factor? I mean, globally, it has sort of mixed reviews. It's obviously very, very popular as a brand. It's very, very popular as a product, but there are arguments on whether it actually helps people's careers, or can also perhaps in some ways end someone's career before it gets started. I don't know if you can talk about it. Is this okay to talk about first and foremost?
No, it's okay to talk about it. I think we need to be realists here. We need to consider the fact that our island is very small. We need to consider the fact that units of sale are very little. We need to also talk about the fact that you have to be innovative more often, and you need to be innovative all the time, because we don't live in America, so we don't go from state to state performing the same show for a year. So it's not sustainable. It's not a sustainable industry for some. For it to be sustainable, you really need to kind of think outside the box as well. As a TV program, I really like the format, and I really like what it allows upcoming artists to do, because in Malta, it's very difficult, I think, to be an upcoming artist and to be heard or be seen.
It's almost impossible, right? Globally speaking.
It is kind of. I mean, it's even hard when you're a known artist and you're releasing your music, and like the radios don't catch on to it, you know, because you're getting rotation for a week, 2 weeks, and then all of a sudden you don't get rotation at all.
Nowhere near enough support locally for local
exactly.
music.
And I mean, I think even by the government, either government, there has never been that full-on support to musicians and artists in this respect. I don't think they have the savvy. I don't think they know enough what is required to help the industry thrive.
I think that was evident coming to the end of COVID, and some of the comments made were really kind of, wow, seriously, did they actually say these kind of things?
That, and also the lack of I can't say lack of support, because there was support, but not enough. There were industries that were clearly more important than others.
Not essential
And I mean, we really need
Your
to
fire is
kind
there.
of, we need to think about these things, that art, music, you know, literature, these are the things that have always been present in every civilization. And they've driven, you know, civilizations and people living in those civilizations have come up with these things because they were living through them, and it's, you know, a manifestation of those years, those decades, you know, that went on. I mean, it's history, you know.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I think
And
locally,
music will be history. Unfortunately, nowadays, though, I feel that it's a bit disposable. We're living in a bit of a disposable culture. So, you know, you don't get to hear a song and say, this is going to be a classic, for example. You know, there's not like enough longevity to anything, really. I mean, even the songs, they're like 2 minutes long. How?
even artists, I mean, there is not too many artists that have emerged in the past 20 years that you would say will live forever.
No,
If you go back to the
not
70s,
really,
60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, they were
Aerosmith,
jam-packed. So
Red Hot
many.
Chili Peppers.
Led Zeppelin,
Yeah.
Rolling Stones, the Beatles, Elvis.
How come you're mentioning
I mean,
men
I walk-
only?
Oh, hang on a second. We're getting
Madonna.
Dolly Parton, all right?
Thank you, okay.
Dolly Parton, superstar. Stevie Nicks,
Honestly,
Fleetwood
I have
Mac.
no
Bravo.
idea who Dolly Parton is.
You have no idea who Dolly Parton is?
I'm too young.
What's
Push,
like
you're
what's
too young,
younger?
Leor. He's too young. How old are you?
Gonna be 38. 185.
Look how uncomfortable he was saying that. I'm going to be 38.
Wait, I'm not that
But
much
listen.
older.
Apart it right. I walk around at home looking at Sabrina, my partner, just saying, what is this music today? Grab a wall. You know? Like some ridiculous lyrics that make these people bloody millionaires. And it's
I
just,
know.
wow.
Vera.
The most famous song during the COVID pandemic was Wet Ass Pussy.
My God.
That is what they're going to remind you.
They're gonna
They're going to be like,
You remember COVID when that song was big?
Listen, but
God's
seriously,
sake.
even we'll be in the car and my eldest daughter should be singing, you know, some songs.
Wet
that
ass pussy.
not so bad, but you know.
I didn't even know there was there a song called, I stay away from social media and all that shit. I mean, I listen
I
to
remember when
Spotify.
Sex Bomb came out by Tom
Tom
Jones, and I was
Jones, yeah.
like,
For that, it was like
what's
exactly.
this song, Sex Bomb? You know, and like I was listening to it last time. And
It was pretty cheesy, wasn't it?
It was really
But it was
cheesy,
Tom Jones,
but
man.
it's
It was Tom
but it
Jones.
was. I thought to myself, how clever, you know, how clever whoever wrote that song for him, or if he did, I'm not quite sure who wrote it. Like to come back like that, you know, what a comeback!
Yeah, yeah.
And then he did the collaboration with the girl from Catatonia, you know.
Oh, yeah. What was her name?
So good. I can't remember her name.
Because they're both Welsh as
but-
well, yeah. Because she's Welsh.
but and that was such a great song,
Yeah.
and he did some really good stuff, like in his comeback.
I mean, but would you agree that certain people, when they reach a certain level, you can overlook certain things? Because Tom Jones,
yes.
in his era, was like, I'm talking about, he was the Elvis of his era, Tom Jones. He was huge. My mom used to go on about Tom Jones. She wanted to rape the guy. I'm telling you, that's how much she would have found
He
him,
had an
stalked
amazing
him.
voice, huh? He
And-
has an amazing voice.
And women loved him. He was that popular. So do you think
was hot, too.
do you think sometimes you can overlook what the product is because it's Tom? It's Tom.
Look, you can and you can't. I don't know. Like, for example, lately I put on PJ Harvey Essentials, and there was some of her stuff from this album called Shake England. I can't remember. I really didn't like it.
Okay.
I was like, this is not the PJ Harvey I like. But I guess that's what she was going through at that point in time. It was a concept album, you know, all about England and politics and all that. And I just didn't feel it translated well. But that's me, and it's my opinion. I mean, there might be some like guy who's into alternative music saying, but
There's always going to be someone, right? There's always going to be someone. who
Mushek, no,
but
definitely.
Life is about opinions at the end of the day. So
Yes, and
what one
once
likes-
my systems of knowledge teacher told me, opinions are like assholes. Everyone has one.
That's true. Very, very true. And in
I
some
love
cases,
that
they're
quote.
really big assholes. Ginormous.
So let's move on a bit. So you're at the superstar, right?
Yeah.
And you're at home.
Oh my God, so different. Completely different. Like if my husband were here, for example, he'd be rolling his eyes like 360 degrees, because I'm not fake outside of my house, but I'm more real in my household.
Yeah.
So, and I'm more real on the road as well. Don't piss me off.
Oh yeah, when you
I've
drive.
heard
right?
about, I've heard about your age.
Vera, you heard about it?
Probably
How come?
from you, I think.
Probably. No, I have very bad road rage.
I'm on a scooter now, so if I ever find myself behind you, I'm gonna test it. I'm gonna test it. Nee, 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 nee. Nee, nee. Move over! Move over!
Well, there was a story in front of your house where Sean had to come down and save you or something like that.
Lalo, okay. No, so what happened was this. So we had just moved in to our new house. And there was this, what did they call them? The concrete mixer, whatever.
Concrete mixer.
In the middle of the road.
Cement mixer.
And they had just closed off the road. They didn't tell anyone, didn't give a shit to tell us, like, if you're going to leave the house, you know, and you come back by this time, we're going to be here working, because I would have made my own plans. This is one thing that pisses me off. Do not tell me your plans, and then I wouldn't have made my plans. That really annoys me, you know? I'm a
Rightfully so,
planner.
yeah.
So
It's
if
good
you,
that respect too, right?
if you tell me, like, I'm going to be out a whole day, okay, good, I'll plan, you know? But don't, like, leave me in the dark, like, in limbo. Anyway, so I arrive, and this guy's in the middle of the road, and I said, Nista ngħaddi? He told me, le, għax issa ħanaddu l-konkrit, insomma, bla bla bla. Għatlu, ma sax ħin għandkom. Saħita. It's like I'm asking for the world. Għatlu, tim sax ħin għandkom. Għanna sal-5 u nofs, għatlu, allura ma tkollkomx id-deċenza. You know, like you put some signs, whatever.
Notifications, yeah.
Notifications. And he's like, shrugging me off, and then I continued to talk to him, and he was ignoring me. Another, like...
Red flag. Uh-oh.
And all of a sudden I lost it. I started screaming, insomma. And then I called Sean, I told him, inzel, issa, qabel ma nolli kollox. He came down, insomma, and then...
Before I end up on the news.
And then he had a go at him as well.
Oh, yeah? So he didn't diffuse
Lovely
the situation, yeah?
We're a lovely couple.
Well,
No, I think it's like...
feisty.
We are very feisty, yes. But sometimes it's like, because, you know, it's like the cherry on the cake, you know?
Yeah. I think we've all run into these situations before.
Sometimes I can handle it, some others I can't.
Yeah. I'm a person, I mean, I don't like confrontation because I go from arguing to out of control in like an instant. So I learned many, many years ago when I had my very last punch up when I was like 27, I was like, right, no more. Stay away from confrontation, stay away from bad people, stay away from assholes. It's not worth it. Like, you're getting yourself into trouble. Don't do it. It's difficult though, isn't it? Because it's in there are these people all the time.
It is hard, but I think throughout the years I have learned to control my anger better, especially like coming from years where I was like very well known after the first Eurovision Song Contest, and people had this idea that like just because I sang a song where I was like la 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 la, I was like this kind, sweet, like goody two shoes person. Pardon?
Babushka though.
Like when in actual fact I wasn't all like that. There were many facets to me.
You had mentioned to me privately earlier that you had some trouble with relationships during the period because of the fact that people would be obviously just looking at you as Ira, the personality, and not really understanding Ira, the real person. Can you give us a bit of insight into sort of how that went down?
Okay, so that was really hard for me because I was this very, very insecure person as a teenager growing up. I went to an all-girls school. There were a lot of attractive girls at school and a lot of people who did sport and looked amazing. I just sat at my piano and got fatter by the second. And there was, you know, there was a bit of bullying as well going on, you know. So I was very insecure. But I felt I had a talent, and I knew that would kind of get me out of this dark hole I was in. So then overnight, you know, I had this success, and it was really hard. It wasn't difficult, but it wasn't like hard.
It was a challenge.
It was a challenge to deal with because suddenly everyone wanted to be your friend, everyone wanted to call you, everyone wanted to speak to you, you know, and I mean, I'm quite naive and I'm quite like good in my heart. Like I'm not as the Maltese would say, hasheya. So I wouldn't see past certain things. Or like enough, I'd go out like in my 20s as well. And if I was so naive that if some guy like left me high and dry, I'd be like crying about him, in the middle of a dance floor, like in front of everyone. And I had a kind of, at the time, people knew who I was. They'd be like, enough, some person who didn't like me would probably be like, lusti tibki, ġrala xi ħaġa. But I did not have that concept at the time. And my friends, some of my friends, used to say, tpaxxihomx. And I was like, imma x'inhi dil tpaxxihomx? What is it? What is it?
Yeah.
I didn't have that concept of tpaxxihomx. I was like, if I feel like crying, I'll cry,
Yeah.
If I feel like breaking lampposts because I'm angry, I'll do it. like...
And did that thinking change, though?
Now, yes. It took its time. But I guess then, I think it's part of a personality as well. And I think it's, to some extent, I prefer to be genuine than to be fake.
Yeah.
But going back to your question of like Ira at home and Ira on stage, obviously, yes, there's a big difference. And partners, and now my husband as well, it's hard for them to understand that, obviously, I can't be the bitch I am at home to someone who's giving me a bad deal, somewhere. I can't. I have to be nice to people because that's what they expect, So then, like...
And then your partner will feel that it's...
That I'm being fake.
No, that the anger is directed towards him.
Yes, most of the time. I mean, we are angry or we are... annoying to the people we love most.
We always take it out on the ones we love the most.
Because they're going to take us back well,
I think Sean and my wife Catherine and maybe Sabrina should start up a support group and comfort one another, because my wife says exactly what she used to. I mean, I'm not much in the public eye anymore, but she used to say the same thing, that you're always so nice out there and you can be such a dick at home, and I can. It's true.
I think it is one of the things that annoys people who are... Sean is slightly in the limelight now as well, but it annoys them.
Yeah. They don't seem
but
to.
But he's different to me. He's not a people's person. He tells me like himself. He's like, Madonna, you and your small talk. I love it. Like I'll just, be at a bus stop, like maybe in the past, at a bus stop, like talking to someone, or like I'll just start up conversation in like the queue, like at the till,
Yeah.
I love it. I love talking to people.
And he's sort of much more reserved than...
He's more reserved, yes. And if he doesn't feel like talking to anyone, he won't talk to anyone. And if he doesn't feel like doing that, he will not do it.
Yeah.
I will kind of buckle under the pressure.
Okay, and thinking that, I have to give time to these people. I hear where you're coming
but
from.
But I'm okay with doing it too. I love doing it.
Did you ever find moments where you fucking hated it, or...?
Yes, but only like enough of my heart was broken or shit like that.
Did you ever find yourself in situations where you'd like, because I can imagine your situation is elevated times 1,000 of what I used to have, but I used to go out sometimes on a weekend just down to Slim to do some shopping, and my wife would get annoyed because like every 10 meters it was like, hey Oz, how are you? Hey, how's it going? How you been?
I think with men it's different though. With men it happens more.
Does it really?
It happens to you probably as well, like with the football word, like
not anymore, but yeah.
When you used to play,
I think you'd be surprised how many men would probably be intimidated by you to come up and Or am I going
with Ira, you're saying? With Ira? Maybe, right? I mean,
possibly.
I mentioned this before you came in. I've known you for a decent amount of time.
Yeah.
Whenever I'm in your presence, I always feel awkward.
Vera?
Yeah. It's just me.
It's something I can't understand.
I could be near you, near Kid Demicoli. I could be near enough, and I feel this little bit of awkwardness.
First couple of times I interviewed you, I felt the same as well. Yeah. It was like, you were a pretty big star, I mean,
probably because you wouldn't know. Probably because you are dished out the persona, so you don't know the person behind that persona.
We create a narrative in our mind.
That's true.
Exactly.
Very, very true.
Exactly.
And we create maybe a narrative of ourselves, how we should show up in that.
Possibly.
And it doesn't match.
Probably.
Right. So can we talk about your biggest successes versus your lowest moments in performing.
Okay. So for me, my biggest successes are when, for example, like up to 2 years ago, I was asked to sing a duet with Maestro Bocelli.
Oh, yeah.
That's
big, right? That's
my
big,
God.
man. Wow.
But I really wanted it. So when I got the call, I was like, yes, fucking yes.
Until the
And I
panic
was like,
started?
No, I never panicked. And
Okay.
I was like, I want to sing this song. And, and I know exactly what I'm going to do. And I'm going to prove everyone wrong. That kind of mind frame, only because when I get to perform with such artists, they have a repertoire, which is not my kind of repertoire. So it's like huge ballads with long notes and like, a high range and all this shit. And people think that, well, the majority of people, because they saw Seventh Wonder and kind of they stopped there, or then they saw something else, and or they saw the time when I stopped singing because my voice was shit. So they saw that, and they kind of will never kind of steer away from that. So when I get my chance to shine in something like this, I obviously will take it and work hard for it and achieve it.
So
that's my mind frame.
That was your biggest moment, you think, Bocelli?
In recent years, yes, it was one of my biggest moments. One other really huge moment for me was doing the Isle of MTV, the very first edition, which is 10 years ago.
I watched a video of it today. Your performance of, because you did you did the intro was Love Me or Hate Me.
Love Me or Hate Me, and then Driving One of Our Cars.
I've seen you perform a number of times. I wasn't there live. I didn't see it live. But watching it today, I was like, that's a performance. The crowd
really
was
fun.
rocking. And you were, by the way, you were sweating like a pig.
I was sweating like a pig. It was so hot. And at a point, I was like, oh my God, what the hell is happening? Like, I felt this wet sensation. It was my hemorrhoids came out.
Oh, no. During the performance.
During the performance, I was exerting so much, like I was so tense. I was so tense, but in a good way. I was giving it all I've got. That my hemorrhoids came out.
Wow.
I'm hoping very quickly
super
that
attractive. I know.
This is going to be the very first podcast ever that Ira has mentioned her hemorrhoids. This is a classic moment. I'm loving this.
Apart aside, I really like how real you can be, and I'm sure a lot of people would.
No, I mean,
not to mention these kind of moments.
I feel like, firstly, I think it's funny. I think I really like these anecdotes,
fun,
Like, these stories are going to live with me forever, Like, my grandchildren are going to come up to me, no. What happened then? And
you're going to tell them about your hemorrhoids?
I will. No, I have a lot of stories, and they're fun, I guess everyone who wants to be a bit rock and roll has these stories.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. Listen, we're going to have to invite you back one day. We're going to go into much more detail about some of the fucking crazy stories that you went through, because I wanted to get through them today, but we've been really flown with the conversation, and it's been amazing. So that we're going to have her back, and we're going to go into much more detail regarding that.
With regard, so as I mentioned before, I see you guys as, you're performers, but I don't see much difference between you guys and athletes, right? When it comes to what's going on inside your heads in the lead up towards a big performance, how are you? You mentioned before you were really tense, right?
Yes.
How do you manage it now?
Look, I am a visual learner.
Okay.
I need to see, and I need to have a vision, and I need to have a mood board, and I need to write things down, and I need to know exactly what I'm doing. I prepare very well for these things, and I need to think. So I'm continuously, like, in the lead up to my performances, I'm thinking exactly what I'm going to do, how I'm going to move, what I'm going to say in between songs. I write it down. I put it on my monitor, because in recent years I have a monitor in front of me because my memory is like total crap after the children. And I feel better.
Blame the children.
Yes,
Prolonged,
because of the kids.
That's prolonged baby brain, eh?
Is
I
that what
feel
they
I
call
have
it?
it.
Yeah, something like
There's
that.
a thing called baby brain.
Yeah.
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 Well, I never gave
Brain
birth,
fog.
but I can't remember that shit. So maybe for
it's
other
an
reasons.
alcohol brain.
Maybe that amongst other things, but yeah.
So I'm very, like, I have a vision and I stick to it, and I need to feel prepared. And sometimes something really small can derail me. So, for example, right now I'm preparing for a performance. I can't disclose what it is because it hasn't been announced yet. But I know I have a couple of new things I'm going to do in this performance. I know there are some lyrical changes which I need to kind of be aware of because I don't normally sing in this language. And I also know that I'm going to have some outfit changes and some things like that. And I have to vocally be on point, obviously. So, and what's derailing me right now is that I'm not physically where I want to be.
Okay.
So once I get that into my system and I start physically training for this performance, then I will be okay. I'll be on the ball then.
And you can slip into the zone pretty quickly, right?
Yes.
When you go to these things. Okay.
For now, I'm still procrastinating a bit. And I hate when I procrastinate. Because when I procrastinate, then it's like...
Just do it.
The snowball effect,
That's
know?
the
It's
message.
like snowballing.
Just do
Do
it.
you feel that maybe attached to the procrastination is a slight tinge of fear?
For sure,
Yeah.
Michael's taking
Definitely.
pictures.
So, okay, so if we had to go into the low now.
Into the lows. Okay, my lowest, I remember one of my lowest, and it really wasn't that much of a big deal now when I think about it. When I toured Germany the first time, I went alone. I went up alone with Howard, who was my manager then, and we had a band and some set up for me there. And I had to perform, obviously, in most of these shows in Germany are half playback. So you play 7 songs, like a 45-minute set, which is really fun. I love them. They're great sets because it's like you're in the festival vibe, and all that. Obviously, it was double hard because I was a relatively unknown artist. I was under a label, and they were trying to push me at the time. So I had all this fear, pent-up fear inside me. And I remember walking into this place, which was in Munich. Munich? No, Berlin. And it was a Greek theatre. So psychologically, all of a sudden, I saw people above me. And I was used to seeing them below me. So that really messed with my head.
Wow.
And there were like 25,000 people above me in this place I had never been before.
How badly did it affect you?
I didn't sing well. I knew I...
Did you have some anxiety and
I
stuff
knew
like
I
that,
screwed
or?
up. Look, for me, the worst thing to feel is stage fright. It's I never wish it upon anyone. Because you walk onto the stage, and the second you walk on and you start your first note, you want to get off the stage. You're like, when is the song going to finish? When is it going to finish? I'm not singing well. I need to get off. I need to get off. I need to get off.
And you're thinking this while you're singing?
Yes.
Wow, that's hard.
Sometimes you hyper think when you're doing well.
Yeah.
You start singing like you're on automatic pilot. All of a sudden, Lalo, I'm on automatic pilot. What's happening? What's the next word? What's the next,
Yeah.
But then, like, the adrenaline gets you, like, back on track. Okay, back on track.
Wow. So, was it you who told me once that before a performance you froze? You just couldn't physically go on stage?
No, it never happened to me that I physically couldn't go on stage, but that I got very bad stage fright, yes. Twice I got it in my life. Once, the first time I performed in the national final here, so I performed 3 times. Mm-hmm. The first time was like, in my opinion, an ultimate disaster. I fared quite well.
Yeah.
I placed like 6th or something out of 24 songs.
Disaster in terms of your own expectations, or?
Performance-wise, I felt that I really didn't do much.
Okay.
And this time in Berlin. But then, like, I had a good think about it, and then I performed in front of 85,000 people, and it was like nothing. But sometimes it is more daunting to perform in front of less people than
it's
more.
Intimate? Because it's more intimate,
yes. And because every single mistake can be heard, every single, like, break in your voice.
Yeah.
And then sometimes I'll be really looking forward to that. Like, I want to do the intimate sets because I want to kind of delve into something deeper, I want to talk to the audience more. I want to, like, give them that, like, savvy bullshit, I love
Savvy
it.
bullshit.
Like, for example, the Manuel Theatre is very, very, very daunting. And I had 2 nights there.
Because of the height as well?
Because people are above you.
Yeah.
And people can see, right, like, the boxes here can see what you've got written there.
Right, okay.
And the acoustics are so good that, like, once you get on stage, you can hear you breathe.
Right. So you'll notice every little
thing.
difference.
But
yeah.
I loved it because
Okay.
it was my show and I tailor-made it, and I could do whatever the hell I wanted, you know.
Awesome.
And I could speak to those people because they were ticket buyers. It was
They
a gate
wanted
money
to
event.
see
They
you,
wanted
yeah.
to be
They
there.
wanted to be there, yeah. That's cool. Very,
So
very
that
cool.
gave me kind of the psychological, power, strength to do it. The worst is when you are somewhere where you think you're not wanted.
And have you
think
been
you're not
there?
When you
wanted.
think you're not wanted. Like, for example, you get billed somewhere, you're in a lineup, and you're thinking,
They're not here for me. They're not here for me.
but this band is like really rock, and this band is like really this, and why am I here? And then like you start, and people are like, yay!
The mind,
And
right?
you just,
yeah.
it is.
We-
It's all
we
about
waste-
mind.
What about? I mean, this is kind of imposter syndrome, but you ever feel imposterish kind of thing? Maybe in your earlier years you walk out on stage and you ask yourself, do I really deserve to be there?
That always. That
Till today.
till today, but I think it is because I think it's a personality trait. I think my personality is not like, I don't know, I don't feel like above anyone. I've never been like, peasants. It's never been like that.
Not even with Michael.
So
No.
so the day of the performance, right, would be, and I'm asking you this because I'm reflecting back on how I used to be before I used to have to. The day of the performance for me was a huge mental battle between me and myself. Am I
Sure.
good enough? And then I have to talk myself into like, yeah, you've done it
No.
before. You can
Okay.
you can achieve it.
Yes and no, because I've always questioned whether I was good enough, like, in a technical way. So whether I'm a good enough singer, because I had failed, in my opinion, so many times before at being a good singer in certain instances, I mean, if I was on TV in the first few years of my career at 9 a.m. on a Sunday morning after a really heavy night out, and I'm trying to sing something and I'm obviously failing miserably, then it didn't add to my credentials at the time, and it didn't add to my credibility at all. But now I know what I can do, I know what I can offer, and I kind of play on my strengths rather than my weaknesses. But as to I don't feel like I'm better than someone, or I don't feel like enough. I don't know. I'm not that competitive. I am and I'm not.
Okay.
Does it make sense?
It does. It does. It does. We get it. I get it completely. We want to tie in with part of this podcast is we want to discuss mental health, right?
Yeah.
I mean, me specifically because I've dealt with it for so long in my life.
Yeah.
Hoggy because he's a performance coach. He's had certain things in his life where he's been exposed to certain things and felt certain things. Mm-hmm. You and I had discussed that you had gone through something after Harry was born, right? And
Yes.
it's something that's unfortunately quite common these days,
Yeah.
postpartum depression, right?
Mm-hmm.
Tell us a bit about how that went and sort of the depth of how bad it got and then sort of how you got through it.
Okay, so I think the first thing that no one prepares you for is like how not, like everyone romanticizes it, everyone romanticizes like pregnancy and wanting children and giving birth, and I was really not ready for Harry at all.
From the outside, the whole thing looks fucking awful. I mean, I can understand the mysticism. Oh, you've got a baby growing. It's so special. It's emotional. But from a physical point of view, it's horrific, right?
It's hard. It's tough. I mean, I really didn't have a bad pregnancy with Harry at all. But I was like, it was completely bad timing. I waited 14 years kind of to get back on the Eurovision stage.
Yeah.
Then I had national final. And obviously, I mean, it was like, if I win, I have to go to the Eurovision Song Contest. There was all this pressure because, people obviously wanted me to win, and some others didn't.
Yeah.
As always is. So there was that. My relationship with Sean was literally like just 2 years in the running. So it affected our relationship as well. So there was a lot to deal with, kind of, all at the same time. And then hormonally, you're never prepared, like, for that. I already had my hormonal issues before, so it was like a lot of highs and very bad lows. And nothing. Hey, then, I mean, I was obviously living on adrenaline because I was doing this very big thing, you know.
Yeah, of course.
I had to perform, and I was 5 months pregnant. And there was all this expectation, and then there was the result. And then, like, people were obviously disappointed because, you know, Malta was like, Hanerpo, and it didn't happen, like, for the gazillionth time.
They say the same thing every year, right?
You know?
Yeah.
So then after that really high, there was a really low, because what comes up must come down.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it was like, okay, obviously I used to go out a lot before because I was living, well, a couple life with Sean and a single life to a certain extent.
Kids change everything, right? Yeah.
So then it was like, you know, you have to change from that to like, okay, now we're at home now, we're taking care of a baby. I couldn't even take care of myself at that time. I mean, at 35, I still felt like I was a child. I still feel like I am a child at times.
Yeah.
I'm not one of these people who's like really mature, you know. I feel like a real idiot. You know, like, and sometimes, I mean, Sean, bless him, he'll be like, "You're quite childlike," you know, sometimes. But I think it's part of my character, and it's also like the music, you know, that keeps you like very youthful.
I guess so. Yeah.
Very
it has to
young,
be,
you know.
right? Yeah.
You have to be young at heart because otherwise you're like a boring old git. So then there was Harry to take care of, and obviously then it changes the dynamic of the relationship. But you know,
Even physically, right? You change a lot after.
physically,
obviously,
for
right?
me, it was like I never had like this amazing body, but I was much slimmer before, and then all of a sudden I'm like,
sorry, I saw you on the Isle of MTV. You had something going on there, right? Don't give me this. I never had an amazing body.
as in
your own eyes.
In my own eyes,
okay.
no. I wanted perfection, and it wasn't there. I never had abs, so you know, for me, abs are perfection.
Right. Okay.
You know, and like toned arms and all this shit. So anyway, so then like, you know, I have to shed this baby weight. Then I look back, like now I look back and I see photos of myself, and I'm like, Madonna, how warped your thinking was.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. And so, how bad did it get for you at some points? You know, after Harry was born, and you know, you were going through all these changes, and you know, obviously emotionally and as you said, hormonally, you're all over the place.
I couldn't really understand it, but like I'd go out with. One, I had this fear of going out with Harry alone as well. Not the same like when I had Gigi. Then I used to go out with both of them.
Okay.
You know, if I'd forget nappies at home, for example, we are no big deal, you know. But before it was like fear to do everything, you know. What if he starts crying? And like all of these things that a lot of mothers go through.
I think probably you would have had the added stress of the eyes on you because of who you are. If you're out in public, it's an extra stressor. And maybe you're not thinking about it.
No, I wasn't. I wasn't really thinking of it, but I guess so. You know, like people will recognize you, and enough. If you screw up in front of everyone, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But there were times when like it was just like, you know, crying for nothing and just being generally depressed and just feeling generally bad, you know.
It's pretty shitty, isn't it?
I can't really recall because sometimes we kind of tend to forget. Like, for example, I'll think this. In my 20s, there's hardly anything I really remember well, except for these funny stories.
Yeah.
But a lot of it I can't remember because it was such a stressful time for me that I think my mind has chosen to...
We tend to block out the things that cause us pain and trauma. So, yeah, that's completely understandable. You actually said you had got a little bit of help, right, as well?
Yes, then eventually, so I got help when I was feeling really, really low after Harry. And then when I knew I was pregnant with Gigi, I knew what was coming. So it was COVID time, and my gynae told me, okay, now it's time. You need to call these people and you need to speak to them because the last time you were not good.
Yeah.
So I spoke to the perinatal clinic. They have a really good service going on for expecting mothers and for mothers who have had their babies as well. And I did that. I mean, imagine, then it did help a lot. Like the only thing I felt I was good at was breastfeeding. That was the only thing I felt I was good at as a mother. Like, I was so obsessed that I wasn't a good mother. I wasn't going to make it. I remember like my gynae coming the day after I gave birth, and I was like, how are you? Obviously crying. And he's like, shall I take the baby and you know, raise my... Yeah, it was...
Yeah. I'm glad. It's good that it's good that you got the help, and it's good that we send the message that there is help out there for other people who are going through the same thing. The one thing that I've experienced that most people, when it comes to mental health, is the shame factor. Right? You don't want to admit. You don't want to. It's difficult to express how you're feeling. You don't know how to get help, and I think the important message is that there is help out there. Right?
For sure, that's a very important message. But also, I think the shaming happens because, like I said, because it's so romanticized, you know, you should be feeling good about having a new baby, you know, it should be the happiest time of your life. You have happiness in your hands. But you don't see it that way when you're in it. You don't.
This is the thing with mental health, and what people don't understand is that it is actually changes in your brain. It's not just a mood. And that's the misconception that people don't understand. It is not a mood. It is chemical changes in your brain that are affecting you physically.
Yep.
And that's what people don't understand. That's why they'll say, oh, well, yeah, it's such a beautiful thing. You're having a child.
Snap out of it.
Yeah.
You know,
oh, God, I hate those goddamn fucking words. How I hate them.
Because
Jay
you
used
can't,
to say it to
you know?
me sometimes, and I used to want to strangle him. He did it in jest, obviously. But, yeah, it's not something you can. Physically, you can't snap out of it. You can only snap out of it with either drugs or support. And working through it, right? I mean, this is how it is, yeah?
I don't know if you feel this way, but I always can kind of recall and remember the exact time, like, I wasn't feeling well, like when I am feeling well. So when I'm feeling well, everything looks like open and lit up. And when I'm not feeling well, it's like, you know, when you're feeling well, that you are like in this hole, you know, trying to claw your way out.
Yeah, I can see you getting emotional about it right now. So it's not easy.
Like, listening to this, I recall back, and I believe that for our second child, Sabrina passed through a similar thing. We're living in Greece. It was just me and her. I was traveling a lot for work. She was dealing. I mean, my eldest daughter was 1 year and 4 months, whatever. She wasn't diagnosed. She didn't have help, right? Also, for me, it was really difficult to try and understand what she was going through. You know,
you can't really.
No, you can't. You just
can't. And Miskina, probably she had no adults to talk to. You can't even have a conversation with your 1-year-old because they still don't talk.
Sab used to spend weekends alone, just her and the kids.
And her. Now I can talk to Harry. Harry's 6. I can have a fully fledged conversation with him. So he's company to me.
Sure.
But when they're so young, they are some sort of company, but they're not really company because you can't talk to them.
I remember one time I was away for about 4 days, and I knew that
playing a game.
Yeah, I think I had 2 away games, right. And I knew that Sub was struggling. Obviously, we were speaking on the phone. And when I got to the airport to catch my final flight home, all flights were cancelled.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and I felt really, really bad about it. And to cut a long story short, I went to watch the James Bond movie on my own, and it was fantastic. And
that made you feel even more guilty.
Yeah. What an asshole I am.
Things that are out of your control, my friend. There's nothing you can do about that. Listen, we could probably talk forever, but we're getting into Joe Rogan territory in terms of the length of this podcast. So I want to do just we like to a couple of things before we end it off.
Yeah.
We like to get sort of the guests to ask us a question that maybe they're curious about, or I don't know, want to know about from either our pasts or our careers. Do you have? I asked you to prepare something.
Yes,
Do you have something in mind?
I wanted to ask you if you were ever on air and you felt so like bad because of this. We spoke at length about your mental health. That like you felt the need that you had to stop, and could you have done it or could you not do it?
You could not do it, unfortunately.
How did that make you feel?
It was very hard. It was really difficult.
Did you feel trapped?
I was there were certain shows. I mean, I had not just shows. I had periods of weeks and months where I was like this. I could hardly talk. My wife will recollect that there were days where I would finish the show, go home, and I wouldn't speak until the show the next day.
Wow.
I just couldn't. I was just in so much pain that I couldn't speak. So it happened several times where I would put up the microphone, do my thing with great pain inside, but I would get through it, put the microphone down and just, sort of curl up in a ball and stay there until the next song is finished. So there was a lot of times that happened, a lot of times. And
were others aware of this?
no, not really, no. No, I was pretty good at hiding it back then, and still am, to be honest. I don't often... There's often times where I don't let people in and how I'm actually feeling, because I feel it's still to this day, even though I'm so open about it, I still feel it's like it's a weakness, even though I know it's not. I know it's not a weakness. It's not my fault. It is a brain injury, and that's a fact. But still, it's just something about it. I just feel like, God, can't you do better? Can't you be stronger? These sort of thought processes always go through my mind, which is completely ridiculous. But yeah, there was a lot of times on air where I was like that. It was pretty difficult, but I can reflect back now and say I got through it, which is again makes me feel stronger as well.
Good.
You have a question for it or not?
Yes, for Hoggy. One of the things that makes me most anxious when I'm watching games is when you get to penalty phase. How do you handle that amount of anxiety and stress?
Well, for me as a goalkeeper, the stress wasn't really on me. The stress was on whoever's shooting.
Okay.
So
but when someone else is shooting and you have to save the goal, or else.
Yeah, but the
How do
reality
you
is
handle it?
it's their ball to lose, and it's mine to save. So in all honesty, I wasn't a great penalty saver, but the pressure is usually on the one who's taking. I gave a penalty once, and the pressure got to me so badly that remember.
How come you gave it?
Because,
what was the reason?
I'll explain. Because I felt that it was the ballsy thing to do when I was in a team where all the stars at that moment refused to get. And I was like, okay, I'll give one. and in that moment, everyone ignored me.
Okay.
And I was quite young. And as I was walking away, the coach calls over to me and goes, "Hey, you're number 5." I'm thinking to myself, "Number 5?
Number 5 is the worst. The most important one. Win or lose, yeah.
And then we were draw till my penalty. It was the one before the last. Okay, so and I had no plan in my mind. I didn't know how to kick the ball, and I just rocketed it like Roberto Baggio 94, and I think the ball's still traveling. To be honest. And then I went in and I saved the next one and I saved the one after, and we won.
It probably gave you
And by the time I got to the dressing room, my phone was full of swear words and compliments.
And then compliments. Did you ever take a penalty again after that, or that was the last time?
No, but I would have.
But you would have.
Yeah, because I have that brave ignorance. I just go for it.
Brave ignorance. I like that.
Do you think that's a good trait to have, or in some cases yes, in some cases
a bit jackass,
no?
yeah.
But it is, because once I remember, you were asking me a hi as well. One moment we were live on Rai, and I got to sing with Max Gazet. I met him backstage, and he took a liking to me, and he's like, "Listen, I'm singing this song, this Chris Rea song." It was a Christmas thing, right? Driving Home for Christmas. He said, "Would you do it with me?" Because he was like, he's very alternative. So for him, like a show like this would have been, really awkward. And had it been like 10 years before, 5 years before, I would have been like, "No, I'm not going to do it. I'm not prepared." But I was like, okay.
I think as I get older, I prefer to do and fail
than not
just,
do,
exactly,
sit back, and those who never fail are those who never try.
I think
that's why we're doing this podcast.
Yeah. I think most people.
I'm not a podcaster, and once again,
is this your overconfidence again? Getting in here?
No.
What was the word? I forgot the term you used already.
Brave ignorance.
Brave ignorance. Is that it?
But seriously, it's not something I'm comfortable with. But as time goes by, I kind of settle in, and I'm okay with that.
No, I think people become successful because of that, trying and doing things that maybe take them out of their comfort zone.
If you live in fear your whole life, you'll never do anything.
Check. If you live in your comfort zone your whole life, you just be
living
boring.
in your comfort zone is living in fear, isn't it, though? Because you're comfortable. You're scared to go outside of that box. Yeah, exactly. So.
By the way, today
Yes.
I read something really interesting. I don't know if you know, because I always thought It was a woman of color who sang on Great Gig in the Sky, the Pink Floyd
Yeah.
number. But
Who was it?
apparently it was, oh my God, I forgot her
Are
name.
you brain farting now?
I read it and I forgot.
Michael's on the old
Carol
Google.
Terry,
Here he
Carol Manafsh, I forgot her name. Anyway, she apparently, obviously, I thought as much, came up with most of the melody of that
Okay,
because
really?
it's a non-lyrical, no piece.
Yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah.
just vocal.
Claire Torrey.
Claire Torrey.
Claire Torrey,
See,
there
I
you
said
go.
Carol Terry.
Close.
Close.
You were there. Or thereabouts.
Apparently, she had a legal battle with them because over royalties, because she was like paid a
God.
175 sterling
Wow.
like fee for her Sunday session, and then had this whole legal battle with them because obviously she came up with the melody, right?
Yeah. Did she win?
Yeah.
She won. Good.
She won.
Sort of like Queen with Vanilla Ice. Yeah. Poor guy. I felt bad
Vera,
for him.
what a sad ending. Oh.
Well, he lost pretty much everything, didn't he, because over that. But
Check.
he completely ripped off the bass line. Right? I mean,
True.
It's not like it was almost or it was close. It was the exact same thing. So
Did you see the video of him explaining it on YouTube?
I didn't know.
But was it because at the time they didn't have any laws about sampling something, or am I
I just
wrong?
think he didn't know. I think it was pure ignorance, and he just used it.
He didn't know that
Mike,
using
you,
it that you'd
you
have
saw
to...
it. What did he say?
If you see the video, he's trying to explain how the songs are different, but even as
Really? Is he still living in? He's still living in denial. Even
YouTube it.
was he joking though, or was he being
He
serious?
was trying to be
Oh, that's
serious.
just stupid. Yeah, okay.
Epic fail, like-
It's like it's so exactly the same. You can't even say otherwise. Last things for the podcast. Okay, so we do this. I think I asked you to prepare either a book, a podcast episode, or a TV series that you would recommend.
Okay, I'm going to recommend The White Lotus. I'm watching it right now, and
I've
I
heard
love
good things. Is it great? Yeah.
It's amazing.
Is it what is it?
I
on-
really like it. Jennifer
Taking
Coolidge
it
is
up.
amazing in it, obviously.
You writing it down?
Season 1 is, first of all, it's a bit dark, which I love. It's like a dark comedy.
Yeah.
And it's full of like sexual innuendos, and it's just great. I love it.
She's good, Jennifer Coolidge, isn't she? She's
I love her,
amazing.
yes.
She was recently in, what was it called? I'm not going to remember this, but it was a story about a family who moved into a house that they thought was haunted, and there was
yes,
some
I
battle.
watched
Did you
it.
saw it? She was in that as well.
What is it called?
I can't remember what it's called.
The Watcher.
No,
The
The Watcher, that's it. Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
good. Very,
It
very good.
was
Very
great,
good
wasn't
series
it?
too.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
And she was really good in that.
She
too,
was
wasn't
really
she?
good. I love the guy as well. The guy who always plays an Italian
Bobby
guy.
Cannavaro. His name is,
cool.
yeah.
I
He's
love
so
him,
good. Do you know who we're talking about? Jennifer Coolidge?
No.
Stifler's mum.
Stifler's mom.
Stifler's mum. She's amazing, yeah.
Combination. We watched 2 movies this weekend with Stifler's mom.
Which ones?
She was in Legally Blonde as well.
She's good. She's so good.
I love her.
Yeah, she's so good.
She did the part in Porky's of the girl.
Porky's?
Who has
Lalo.
sex in the gym and has that loud orgasm.
That was
Minnie of
her?
how young Mela she was
Oh
there.
my God.
She must have been super young.
Let's not talk about Porky's.
Shotgun
That
Wedding.
was-
the
Shotgun
one
Wedding,
with
what?
J-Lo. Okay, I haven't watched that.
No,
Is
no,
it good?
me
Any
either.
good? Or
I mean, for a Friday
rom-com?
night pizza, exactly.
I imagine
Okay.
this is not what you're recommending for your book podcast episode.
No.
What are you recommending then?
So, high performance podcast.
Good.
Kasper Schmeichel, making self-belief your superpower.
Wow.
And it's a really good episode.
You had actually put me onto this podcast, and it's really, really great.
Yes.
I love the way it's presented, love the guests they have on. Kasper Schmeichel, goalkeeper, so I guess for you it was something pretty cool as well.
Yeah, I relate so much to him and his journey. Obviously not financially.
Yeah.
And but no, it's a really good for individuals who lack the self-belief, you know.
Yeah. I'm going to check it out, actually. I haven't heard one in a while. I'm going to recommend, I'm totally in love with Mel Robbins. Do you know who Mel Robbins is there?
no, you mentioned him last time, but
She's a she. She's, what would you call her? She's a life coach.
like a
she's a life coach.
motivational
She's a life
speaker.
coach. Yeah. She's Tony Robbins-ish.
Okay.
She's a bit more subtle than Tony is. She's super. She wrote a book called The High Five Habit, which I recommend to everybody. It's just the concept of waking up in the morning and giving yourself a high five, because it's like physically, it's mentally impossible to not feel good about a high five. Anyway, that's the science behind it. But she has an episode. I dropped it. It's actually the paper on the floor. Hold on a second.
I can't read that
Oh no,
far.
it's not here. It's here. Hang on, here it is. It's here. It is. Okay, it's an episode called Hacking Dopamine and Simple Ways to Improve Brain Health. She invites this guy, Dr. Amen. If you've never heard of this guy, he's a psychiatrist, neuroscientist, all these different things. And he gives you tips on how to improve your brain health. It's one of the best podcast episodes I've
good.
ever heard. Really,
You need
really
to
good.
send me that. 'Cause
I will send it
I'd
to
like
you.
listen to it.
It will also be all the stuff that we've recommended will be in the bios underneath the podcast.
And I'm still
stuff.
reading, but I would like to recommend as well. Ramona de Paris has written, what do you call it, a biopic? Is it that? She's written a book about Katya. You know Katya Saunders?
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm still reading it because of the kids. Like it's a bit insane,
Yeah,
but
yeah. Ramona's
it's really
talented,
good.
though. Yeah, I like Ramona.
I love
She's good.
Ramona.
Yeah, so
She's
do I.
great.
Yes.
Yeah, she's very talented.
Uh-huh.
Very,
So
very
I'd like
good.
to give that book a shout out because I think more people should read it and, be a bit more supportive of LGBTIQ as well.
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
I think we're good, mate. I think this has been a great episode. We're going to do the toolkit.
Yeah,
'Cause we do the toolkit.
We
right?
need a toolkit.
The toolkit is something that we like to offer to people, something that we use in our own lives to make our lives better, our performance better, or something like that. What do you got?
Okay, so mine is a technique called box breathing, right? And it's so to box breathe. Basically, you need to inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds, exhale for 4 seconds, and hold for 4 seconds, right? And you keep going around like that. Let's say we do for 10 reps,
Yeah.
right? I remember not too long ago, it was my kids' catechism, right? Catechism?
Holy
No,
Communion.
Holy Communion, that's
Uh-huh.
it. And the priest asked me if I'd like to read, and I said, yeah, no problem, sure, like I'll do it.
You see, there goes his brave ignorance again.
And in my mind, I was in the small church near Sacred Heart of Zamik
yes.
Lab, and I said, oh yeah, I'm sure. And when I got there, it wasn't Zamik Lab, it was in Rabat, and it was a massive church, and there were floods of people, and I sat down, and my heart was racing, and I did the box breathing, and I
You're good.
honestly felt my heart rate slow down, and it got me perfectly in the zone. So I truly believe
true.
in breathing techniques
That's
and
awesome.
how well.
Yes, I believe
yeah.
in breathing as well.
Mike, by the way, you're in charge of doing a meme, okay? Brave ignorance. An image of Hoggy, all right? We've got to have, something has to go
In a
viral.
Superman
okay?
cape.
Yeah, brave ignorance, okay?
I've got something already.
Good, fantastic. I will end off with my toolkit for the day, and that is, I mentioned it before, the high five habit, giving yourself a high five every morning. I'm not going to lie, I feel fucking stupid doing it, but apparently it's supposed to work, all right? Because it's physically impossible. Have you ever given someone a high five and not felt good? Should we do one? What do you think? You
I
feel
love
good
it.
about it?
Yeah.
Feels great, right? You give yourself one. You actually have to do it in the mirror. You have to do it in the mirror. So you have
Okay.
to high five yourself in the mirror. Give it a try, and if you want to find out more about what's behind that, just read The High Five Habit by Mel Robbins. So we've gone into Joe Rogan territory. Big long podcast, but I think it's been absolutely bloody amazing.
It honestly didn't really feel long.
No,
we
it
could have
didn't.
we could have gone for another couple
Yeah.
hours.
Yeah,
I reckon,
for sure.
easy. We would have needed some snacks and Michael to serve us in a tutu or something, serve us some drinks.
Or in
but,
a thong.
in a thong.
like
Yeah.
Party Boy. What's his name? The guy from
Steve-
Jackass.
Steve-O.
Oh God, yeah.
Hilarious.
know,
And
the other
Steve-O,
guy, so
yes,
it's
like
just
the
funny.
thongs.
I just can't, I don't know. Michael's a decent looking guy, but thong, I don't know about that. No, I'm not quite sure. Ira, you're a legend. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me.
I hope you
Thank
enjoyed
to the both
yourself.
of you.
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah?
I did. I
Right.
did.
We're really glad to have you, and I'm sure in the future, if we keep doing this,
Yeah.
if people don't say, "What's this stupid podcast? What are they on?" and we get like 3 downloads, we'll see in the future. But if we keep doing this, you'll definitely be coming back.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Thank you so
before
much.
we finish, thanks to Michael who organizes everything for us.
Yep. He's a legend, isn't he? The guy.
Yeah, he's great.
He's
so
great.
thank you so much.
The only thing that he hasn't organised, which we wanted, was feet massaging during the actual podcast. Is that something you're working on, Mike?
Eventually.
Yeah. So what are we promoting today? Good Ear Promotions, Good Ear Entertainment, Good Ear Entertainment, and you also have your other brand. What's that?
Levels audio rental.
Levels Audio Rentals. Listen, the lowdown is this: if you need a DJ, if you need equipment, if you need entertainment for your gig, your
Yeah, no,
party.
he's definitely the
Michael's
guy.
your
He did
guy,
my
man.
sister's wedding.
Yeah, he sorted me out a number of times.
It was
He's
amazing.
a
He
Did my
legend.
mom's 60th. That was rocking.
You're a bit of a whore.
That
aren't
was
you, Michael?
rocking.
Jesus, man, you're
It's
like
fun,
everywhere.
duh.
Yeah, he's raking in the big dollars, this fella, I tell you.
Dollar bills, y'all.
Dollar bills. Thank you, Mike. You're a good man. Thank you, Ira, Hoggy. Thanks a lot, man.
Thank you, guys.
Thank
And
you.
we'll be back for another episode of Mind Over Chatter sometime soon. Cheers.
The content of this podcast is intended for general informational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of a qualified healthcare provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition. The information provided on this podcast is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease or medical condition. The views and opinions expressed by guests on this podcast are solely their own and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of the podcast host or producer. If you are experiencing a medical emergency, please call 112 or seek immediate medical attention.